Okay, what we're doing here is we're going to connect two computers together with the oldest network ever, which is referred to as a crossover cable. So as you can see, it actually says X over on here, which is short for crossover. This is a special cable that can connect two computers together with their network cards or network interface cards. They don't always have to be red, but they're typically red. So just keep a lookout for that word X over. All right, we've got laptop number 1, laptop number 2. If you spin it around, you've got a network interface card right here. And you also have a network interface card right here. As we know, we've got our friend, the crossover cable here. So just to kind of ground us as to what we're currently connected on, we've got this icon right here which shows us that we're connected on wireless. And over here, we're connected on wireless also. I want to just quick show you that if we go to a command prompt, which we can go to by clicking Start CMD, if we type ipconfig, ipconfig, enter, you can see that the wireless LAN adapter has an IP address that's there already. And if we look, we can right-click on the wireless icon, click Open Network and Internet Settings, and we click on Ethernet, and we can click on Change Adapter Options. I can right-click on my Wi-Fi adapter and click Properties. And TCP/IP is how we're actually connecting, right? So we click on TCP/IP, which is the protocol, click Properties, and you can see that that IP address right here, 10.196.4.36, is absolutely not specified in here, right? This is just set up to receive an IP address automatically, which you'll learn later is referred to as DHCP, or Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. So when you set up yourself for obtaining an IP address dynamically, you don't really learn how IP addressing actually works. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to teach you how to do it the old-fashioned way with a static IP address, because that actually forces you to think through it. And just so that the computer doesn't get confused, I'm going to close out of here. I'm going to go back to, just to reacquaint you, I'm going to right-click here, Open Network and Internet Settings. I'm going to go to Ethernet, Change Adapter Options. I'm going to right-click on Wi-Fi. I'm going to disable it. And I'm doing that just to simplify everything so that I know that I'm connecting through my Ethernet port instead. And notice when I did that, I have this exclamation mark now because I'm not connected on my Ethernet port anymore. And Wi-Fi is down. So I'm going to take this end of the crossover cable and I'm connecting it to laptop 1. And then on laptop number 2, I'm going to go ahead and right-click on the wireless, click on Open Network and Internet Settings. I'm going to click on Wi-Fi. I'm going to click Change Adapter Options. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to right-click on Wi-Fi and I'm going to disable so that I'm forcing the computer to only use the Ethernet port. So I'm going to go around here and I'm going to plug in the other end of my crossover cable. And at that point, I've got my Ethernet over here, which is disabled. I'm going to enable that. So at this point, I've got, actually, just to explain this to you too, these other network cards are not important for this lab. VMware is something we'll work with later that has to do with virtual machines. So ignore this, ignore Bluetooth, ignore Cisco AnyConnect, and this other VMware interface. The only two things that matter for this lab are this Ethernet port and the Wi-Fi, which is currently disabled. And same thing goes for this other computer also. Just the Wi-Fi and the Ethernet up here are the only things that matter. So I'm going to switch back to laptop 1. I'm going to right-click on it. I'm going to click on the Ethernet port. I'm going to click Properties. and I'm going to pick TCP/IP version 4, and I'm going to click Properties, and I'm going to click here just to remove what was in there before, and I'm going to click Use the IP address here, and I'm going to put it in a specific IP address that is a static IP address. So I'm going to pick 10.1.1.2. And I'm going to put in a subnet mask of 255.255.255.0. And what this is doing is it's basically just assigning this particular IP address. And this is completely arbitrary. I just picked this out of nowhere. You could have picked any 10.address, right? So 10.anything between 1 and 255 for this number and this number and this number. And we don't need to get into all the subnetting. It's just a simple lab just so you understand what putting a static IP address looks like. And then over here, we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to right-click on the Ethernet adapter. We're going to click Properties. We're going to go down to TCP/IP version 4. We're going to click Properties. We're going to click the button that says Use the following IP address, and we're going to assign it 10.1.1.3. And I'm going to hit Tab, and I'm going to put in the subnet mask of 255.255.255.0. So I'm just going to explain one tiny little bit of theory here as far as IP address. So with this mask, this subnet mask of 255.255.255.0, what that does is it makes these first three numbers act as the network. So 10.1.1 has to be the same. So both of these have to have 10.1.1. But the last number has to be different. So this is .2 and this is .3. And that last number could have been between 1 and 254. So I'm just going to hit OK over here and close. And I'm going to hit OK over here and close. And I'm going to close out of the network properties altogether. And I'm going to go ahead and go back to my DOS prompt. And I'm going to type ipconfig on laptop 1. And notice my IP address is now 10.1.1.2. I'm going to go ahead and open up a DOS prompt over here. I'm going to type ipconfig. And I'm going to see that my IP address here for my Ethernet adapter is 10.1.1.3. So the simplest way to test a connection between two things is to type ping space 10.1.1.3, right? So I'm .2, that is .3. So I'm going to ping it. And at this point, I confirmed that I have a connection between the two. So on this computer, likewise, I'm going to type ping space 10.1.1.2. And I'm going to hit enter, and I can ping. So I can ping between each other. Okay, so we can ping, but now we're going to actually connect to this computer 2 remotely. And we're going to share some files. So on computer 2, I'm going to right-click on the desktop, new, create a folder, and I'm going to create a folder named share. And then I'm going to right-click on that folder, and I'm going to click properties, and I'm going to click sharing, and I'm going to click advanced sharing. I'm going to click share this folder. It's automatically going to be called share. Hit OK and close. And now on this computer, I'm going to click Start, Run, click on the Run prompt, type / 10.1.1.3, hit Enter, and I can see my share. I'm going to open that share up, and I just want to put a Notepad document inside of here. So I'm going to click Text Document. Oh, wait a second. It says you need permissions to do this action. So the problem is on computer 2, I need to go back to my share. I need to right-click, do Properties, click sharing, go to my advanced sharing, and now I need to click permissions, and I want to give everyone, in this case, full permissions, right? So I'm going to hit OK, OK, and close. And I'm going to go back here, I'm going to hit cancel, and now I should be able to actually create the file, as I can. Test. So inside of this, I'm going to say this is a test, and I'm going to close out of it and save. So even though I'm doing it on this computer now, I can go onto computer 2, and that file is now there. So that's just a quick example of the fact that the IP address is something that we kind of take for granted, because we're used to having that button that said obtain an IP automatically. But just to review, you can go back to your network settings, Ethernet, change adapter options, right click on your Ethernet adapter, properties, TCP/IP version 4, and instead of this button, which is what we're all used to, you never even thought about it, you can click this button for use the following IP and statically assign an IP address.